Okay. Okay. All right. Welcome, folks. My name is Jeremy Hazel, as Olivio introduced me, and I am an educator, artist, lifetime creative, pretty much. I got started on Udemy. So, some of you, if you work in the affinity space, you've probably taken some of my classes. I do photo, I do designer, but then I also do things like Procreate, I do a little bit of Adobe, and it goes all the way from motion. So, your After Effects stuff, your Blender stuff, your modeling stuff, all the way through illustration to photo. So I'm really excited to be kind of getting on this live stream with you. Folks, my name is Jeremy Hazel, as Olivio introduced me, and I am an educator, artist, lifetime creative, pretty much. I got started on Udemy, so some of you, if you work in the affinity sound is back. You've probably taken some of my classes. I do photo, I do designer, but then I also do things like Procreate. I do a little bit of Adobe. All right. And it goes all the way. So hopefully the echo isn't too bad. So some of you have seen me on Udemy. Very excited to be working with Olivio on this live stream. So I do Affinity Designer. I do Affinity Photo. I also do things like Blender, ZBrush, Adobe. Yeah, I use the Adobe suite. So I also run a website called Seventh Season Studios. Some of you guys might be familiar with this site, in which I do the iPad courses. Some of you have taken my Affinity Photo for Portrait. And I'm really just excited about getting to work with you guys today, answer some questions around Affinity Photo, and not so much the tech side, but the process of photography, kind of some of my idols, some of the work that I follow, and I'm interested in getting to know you guys. So, Olivio, I'll go ahead and kind of trade it back over to you there, sir, and go ahead and do what you do.
Okay, hi. I hope you can hear me now. I had the wrong microphone connected, and I think we also have feedback from this microphone. So sorry, everything is like really not working that well. Replay. Yeah, the audio is coming from the speakers into my microphone. So sorry for that. Is it not fixed? You cannot hear me? It shows up like you can hear me. No sync in audio. From my voice? Fuck, we should have no sync in audio. Well, what should we do now? Can you hear me? I mean, it doesn't matter if the better can hear you now. But the audio from me is synchronized or not? Now it's perfect? Does it work now? Now it's fine. Okay, let's go on. Okay. Good, perfect. I will turn off my audio when Jeremy's speaking so we don't have the feedback loop. And then, yeah. So let's talk about me. You have done your presentation already, right, Jeremy?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So where is my website? So I guess most of you know me. If you don't know me, I do tutorials on this channel that you are on right now, mostly for Affinity Photo, but I will also start to do for Affinity Designers. You can see here, there's my first tutorial for that. And I will also do some crossover projects between Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo where they work together. So that could be really interesting. And if you don't know it, I also have a Patreon page where you can support me. And the Patreon page might be interesting for you because, first of all, you get the videos 7 days earlier. Then you get all of my Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer files. And I started to put out these packs. So I created one brush pack, and you get a small or a medium size or even the pro size version, the biggest version of the pack, for free as a supporter, depending on the tier. So just to point that out. Okay. About my background, I studied art in Munich, in Vienna. So in both of these cities, I studied art. I finished in Vienna with a fine art study. And afterwards, I went on. I do some art, but mostly I do design for companies as a freelancer or as a own company. And I also started to do the tutorials because I really enjoyed it. The reason I did that is because actually I did on the university a course about social media in game design, actually. And it was a really nice experience to teach the students. And I thought maybe I can teach even more people online. But I know more about design, so it was more suitable to do something about photo editing and, of course, about vector design. And to talk a little bit about what we are going to do today, some of my patrons sent me some images that we will review. Jeremy also has some videos that he will show. And we will talk about them, what could be improved, compare them to other photographers, also talk about our favorite photographers and inspirations. That is kind of an important part, to have some people that inspire you, that you can look up to, and that you can have as a little like artistic guidance. And also, I can say, every artwork is a visual solution to an artistic problem. So you can see how they solve their problems, and then you can adapt it to yours and not copy it, but get inspired by that and work with that. So this is always a good project. So I will give back to Jeremy, so you can show off some artists that you like and what you like about them. 1 second, I will turn off my sound now.
All right, so let's go ahead and double check this since it didn't work so well last time. Can everybody hear me? Is the audio working? Waiting for an affirmative on the audio before I go too much further. Okay. All right, so just kind of bring up a couple of my inspirations. I just want to cover really 3. And a lot of my artwork, a lot of my inspiration comes from people creating bold images. Now, I'm not talking about subtlety. I'm not talking about subtle edits. I'm talking about big, bold edit. So when we do this part, I like to kind of bring up the 3 that I'd like to look at today. I'd like to take a look at, everybody's probably familiar with Brandon Wolfel. Brandon Wolfel's stuff is absolutely, to me, one of my favorite photographers, mainly due to that cotton candy color palette that he has, and his use of light when he goes through and does his photography is absolutely phenomenal. So I like a lot of his stuff, not just the neon stuff, but he's definitely got his own style. And one of the things that plays in really well to the stuff that I do is the focus factor. So as an example, in this piece of art right here, she is clearly the subject of focus. He's got some complex layers in here where this layer is on top of this layer, and this layer is on top of that layer. So he gets a really nice flow telling that visual story with what he's working on. Now, even when he does self-portraits, the very exact same thing. Now, you're talking to a kid that grew up in the 80s. And so neon was the thing back in the 80s, so I kind of grew up on neon culture. So to see this in photography, it has a special place in my heart. Now, the other person that I really like, being from the Pacific Northwest, is Dylan First. And I love his photography style because, as opposed to the Brandon Wolfel stuff, it's really dark, it's really moody, and everybody and their brother's doing wildlife photography. He takes the wildlife photography and it really blends on part photography, part fantasy or concept art. I mean, this photo right here of this eagle could easily be not only a photo, but could also be an oil painting out of some like Dungeons and Dragons type of monster character creation. So he's from the Pacific Northwest as well. Got a passion over there for that gray, overcast, muddy type of look. So I really like a lot of his stuff, and he takes the wildlife photography to a completely different level. But the thing that I really like in my art alone, and you'll see it when we go into our individual pieces, is that I focus on three things. There's a tremendous amount of saturation. You're never going to see an undersaturated piece from me. The second is I use focus to tell the story in terms of what you're supposed to be looking at. So there's an incredible depth of field there in terms of contrast between the foreground and the background. And then the last thing is the dynamics of light are absolutely essential. Those are the three things I focus on when I'm working on photo. Now, the last one, right? This is a guy named, he goes by 13th Witness, right? Comes out of New York. And again, if you've been following along with what I was talking about with dynamics and with color and with just oversaturation, this is a crazy amount of saturation in every single one of his pieces. Now, what I like about his, as opposed to the other two, I love his use of perspective and how he guides the viewer to the point and takes them on a journey through the piece. So this piece right here has those really strong lines leading to that single vanishing point. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. And also the use of volumetric light. I mean, this thing is absolutely insane. It brings you to this commonplace, but then you have so much geometry moving up in so many different directions that it absolutely lends itself to just taking you through the entire piece. So to look at it, it's kind of like an Easter egg hunt, right? Because it's just on the other side of Easter. There's so much to see that you really get a feeling that this thing is absolutely more layers than just the bridge. So when I think about three people whose work I kind of follow, whose work that I try to edit in the style of, these are three people that have heavily influenced me in what I do and how I edit. So Olivio, if you want to go through a couple of yours, I'll hand it back over to you.
Second. Good. Hi, my audio should be back now. By the way, I thought before I go into showing some of my favorite artists, maybe we ask the chat if they want to suggest some we should look at, or some of your favorite artists, so we have more interaction and it's not just like watching a video. So is there someone you want to suggest there? Yeah. Is there some kind of art or maybe an Instagram account or something we can look at where you say, okay, this is pretty interesting, so we can talk about that? Or should I go on with showing my artists and then circle back to the chat after the first artist or something? By the way, can you hear me? I hope so, right? The sound should be on from my side. I turned down my speakers as low as possible so we don't have the feedback. Are we still live? Oh god. It says we are still live, so that should work. Okay, good. Good. Okay, so I will do one of my artists and then we come back to the stream in a second. Let's go in here, and I have no idea. Let's move this over here. Where did I put my stuff? Live stream. Showcase. That's it. So the first one, which one is the first one I want to show you? The first one is actually La Chapelle. Why is there... Oh, Jeremy, you have a browser open right now. Okay, there we go. So La Chapelle is a famous American photographer, and he's also very strong on the colors, the contrast, all this kind of stuff. But what I like very much about him, and I think a lot of the artists that I like have this kind of feature that they reference basically classic art and bring a new version of that. And he does it in a very nice way where this is very pop, and it could be like a cover for a music, how can I say, a CD or kind of music production or something like that. So very, very modern. And at the same time, his pictures, they look very colorful, but when you look at the pictures, you can see that actually there's not that many colors in the picture. And this is something you can learn also from classic paintings. They look like they have 100 different colors in there, but actually they don't. Which is a really interesting feature. And of course, in classic painting, the reason was that you had to prepare each of these colors at the same way, that they have the exact same tone, so you can paint for months and months and have to prepare the colors every day. So this is one of the main reasons for this reduction, but also in today in art, it's really helpful because it makes the work a lot clearer and preciser and better planned, basically. So you can see here that there's a lot of blue in here, there's a lot of red in here, you have some yellow tones in the shirts, in the cap over here. So a lot of the colors are repeating everywhere in the picture, but in a way where it's not that obvious, and it gives a really nice balance overall of the picture. And you can see that also from the way that all of the people are standing around him and the gestures from the hand, that everything is leading up to this figure in the middle. And you can see, and this is kind of an important part also for creating a composition. The most bright part with the warmest light or the nicest light is where the main focus of the picture is, because this is where we look first. Is in any kind of situation, you look for the light first, because you know that you can see something there, and probably there has to be something going on there, maybe a fire or something else. So light is always attracting our attention. So this is kind of a nice trick to structure your images, to do it in that way. Let's pull up another picture. Again, Jesus picture, and again a very nice scene. A very nice structure, and you can see it's kind of similar to the other structure, although it's a completely different picture. You can see here that also we have this kind of triangular shape that is going toward the main figure. So it's a very, very nice way to do this. And by the way, there's another interesting element in here. When you look at it, on the left side of the picture, there's a lot of stuff going on here with the posters in the back and all that kind of stuff. But on the right side, it's not that much going on. You have a clear, not clear sky, but you have this fog in the background, which is cutting out this figure here, which makes it a lot clearer. At the same time, it creates a separation between these two, how can I say, these two parties, these two groups on the screen. And a thing that's also interesting with this picture is you have a little bit of the frame-in-frame idea here, because the Jesus figure is standing in front of this staircase and the little wall here. So he's framed in a little bit in between. So the woman on the left and the posters are ending, and then the staircase starts, which is his little like stage where he presents himself, and then the street starts where the cops are. So this is actually 3 different layers of content next to each other, very well separated, but in a way that is not that obvious, and it flows very naturally in the picture. So he's really great at constructing these kind of pictures. Then we have a third picture also from Chappelle, and then we go back to the chat. I hope you have suggested some artists to look at. So I guess this is Katy Perry, and again you can see very nice build up, not very many colors. You can see most of it is bluish hues, and then there is a little bit of pink here from the roses. So again, very, very nice constructed, very well worked with the light in the picture. So you have, and again, like this is something you find very often also in classic paintings. You have again this triangle structure, this pyramid structure in the picture, which is a nice way to hold things together and to guide the eye of the viewer, because everything is leading to the main element. In this case is the face of the woman in the picture. You can see the left arm is leading up to her face, the other arm is leading up to her face, the legs from this pyramid angle over here from the feet also leading up from this curve to her face. So everything is pointing towards that. So that is done very nicely. And this is a mark of like really great artists, that they have this kind of construction in their pictures. They take all the time, prepare all that stuff. This is, by the way, something we're also going to talk about in our Udemy course, these different kind of ways to structure things in a picture, which is basically I would cut it down to 2 different parts. One is to work with the space, which is different kind of ratios. You have the foreground, the background, you have this kind of frame and frame stuff like here. And then there's other things like arranging things in the picture, like with her hand and the gesture of her fingers and the roses here in the background, all this kind of stuff is arranged in a certain way so it makes sense for the photograph and brings out the main subject in the way that the artist intends. So all these kind of things, if you know them, if you understand how visual language works, it makes your artistic style a lot more interesting and a lot more fluent, and you are much snappier on the go when you have a situation where you have to make a quick decision, how should I photograph this, and you know a little bit about visual language, you can easily find perspectives that can be more interesting than just pointing the camera and making a snapshot of it. Okay, let's see in the chat if we have some suggestions for artists we should look at. The Last Supper? Is there anything? No. Nobody suggested anything? Come on, guys. Come on. Should I go to the next artist or I don't know. Nobody you like? No photographer that you look up to? Anything? It would be cool to integrate the guys from the chat. Should I go on? Jeremy? Carry on. Okay, carry on. Good. Okay, let's go to the next artist who is also a favorite of mine. His name is Gregory Crutzen. The people who are my patrons probably know them or him because I already did a behind the scenes episode about that. He is, like you can see here, he's not that flashy, not that pop in the colors. It's more like, I feel like a lot of his photos, they look like a theater scene or like an old movie, kind of. So it's more muted. It's more, you could say like a kind of a private situation. You feel like, what's the word? If you're on your own, the word is not private, but what's the right word for that? Intimate, more intimate. The situation is more intimate, and that's. But again, he is really working very well with the way he's building up his pictures. And also again, I would say inspired by classic art. Not so much than La Chapelle, but also very inspired by that. And again, you can see there's a very nice light structure here that is pointing out different parts of the picture, and he's using the surrounding, like the background with the tree, in this case also to have this kind of frame and frame thing. So this is cut out as a single scene here, with the how can I say, street in the background, and then you have here basically a cut. And you have this house over here. So this is basically in a different scene, in a different situation. And the woman who is standing between these two scenes, the open door waiting in the background. There's a lot of stuff that is creating a story and really orchestrating the picture into being a really interesting work. Let's go to another of his works. And he likes, especially in this kind of scene, it's called Twilight. This kind of series of him of works. He likes to work with this, of course, twilight situation of the sky, but also with this kind of ghostly light that's coming from different kind of sources, sometimes not really well to explain sources that have been put in the image afterwards. And of course, a lot of these pictures that are not done in one shot, they do a lot of shots and then they compose them afterwards together, especially because it's pretty difficult to have all this kind of different kind of lights and situation work out in just one shot. That would be really hard work, and so you can do it in many shots and then compose it afterwards into a photo. And this one is more abstract, of course, more artistic maybe, so it's not directly obvious what he wants to express here, what the story is. This is not kind of this kind of pop art, more this kind of where you take a little bit of time to really understand what is going on. And I like this kind of intimate situation he's creating where, I don't know, I think we have all this kind of feeling from maybe this kind of small town feeling. So we are pressed into a certain space. Either it's a small town or it's the family or it's our own living situation for the decisions we made in our life. So we're a little bit pressed into this kind of form that we found for ourselves. At the same time, we are all dreaming about some kind of freedom and some kind of strangeness or different things happening for us. And I think these kind of moments coming a little bit together here for people who try to get out of this kind of pressed and maybe depressing situation to find something new, but it doesn't work that well. You know, at least that's what I am getting from these pictures. Also here with the woman getting out of the taxi. So it always seems like there's people who are not really happy with their life. They try to change something and it only kind of works. Let's see. Here we have a really cool example of frame in frame, also by Gregory Crutzen. And this is a really nice setup because not only is it frame by in frame with these door frames, but each room has a completely different kind of ambience and a different kind of like it's basically its own world, you know. So this is really impressive about this picture. And by the way, you can see here another thing that's really interesting. So the woman in the middle, I suppose it's the mother here, she's sitting basically in the middle of the picture, and you have even other elements in the middle of her. And if you put something in the middle of a picture, it means it becomes very static and it has a lot of, it becomes very rigid and strong at the same time. So if you want to create something that is very unmoving, you can put it in the middle of the picture. And if it's off the side, it looks more fluent, more dynamic, or in this case, maybe more disturbed a little bit, maybe. So you can see here that you have this relation between these two. So that's really interesting. And when you look at these spaces, so on the outside we have this space where there doesn't seem to be much light. It seems pretty empty, and even the floor, the ground is changing. I think there's kind of a carpet down here, and then it changed to this wood. And then we have a situation that is not very well lit from the, I mean, it's very well lit in the photograph, but it's not very well lit as a light for a room. So you can you can see in the picture that they are sitting in a kind of muted light, and behind that is that kind of strange greenish kitchen, and another frame, even more dimensions in the picture where you can see the neighbors with another window in the background. It's really crazy to have all these layers. And of course we also have all these layers in our life that they come together and they press us in between them, where often it would not be too hard to change something, but because all these things are pressing us together, there is so much friction that we can't really change too much about a situation that doesn't seem too hard to get out of. And I really like these kind of situations about the pictures of Gregory Crutzen, so that's very nice. Okay, talked a lot. Let's go back to the stream, or maybe to Jeremy, because I talked so long. Oh, wow, there's a lot of Greg. Posted a lot of. Let's look at Alfred Stieglitz. There we go. We have to open the browser now. When I find the browser, 1 second. Where's my mouse? Sorry. There we go. Let's go to Google. Oh wow. Okay. Very nice. Isn't he the guy who had these kind of 3 farmers walking? No, that's Sander. That's Sander. That's not him. Oh, wait. I know this one better. Let's go to this Henri Cartier-Bresson. I hope I say it the right way. French names are always kind of complicated. He's really famous for his kind of photography, kind of street photography. And I have to admit myself, I'm not a fan of street photography in the sense of doing it myself, but I'm a fan of it in the sense of looking at what other people do, for the reason that I don't like taking pictures of people without their consent. So that's the problem for me. But if other people can do that and they create great results, then I really like to look at those pictures. So that's okay for me. What is really great about him, you can see it here in this picture, for example, is that he's really great at taking pictures very quickly of a situation, and at the same time having a really cool like perspective and story and dynamic. So all these kind of elements of visual language, they come together in his pictures, what we talked about before. With these pictures, we have been planned probably for months or even years to create, and he does it in one snapshot. So that is very, very impressive to have this skill. Of course, you have always to take into account that probably he took hundreds of pictures and then took one of those pictures. But still, I mean, there's a lot of people, me included, I don't think I could take pictures like him, even if I take 10,000 pictures. So he's really, really great at that. Let's see if we find another one. Wow, what's that? Okay. Shanghai. So, yeah. He's a great photographer. He's really someone to look for, especially if you like this kind of dynamic photography, doing it live on the street or just like on an event, stuff like that. That's really good to learn from him to do the stuff he's doing. And you can see in his pictures that he has a lot of knowledge about all these kind of things we talked before, separating these different areas in the picture and really building up a really nice dynamic. And that is also what I meant. If you know how these things work, how visual language works, and how to create a composition, you can be really quick about that. And when you train that, you can have like split-second decisions. This is one of his most famous pictures, I think, with the bike rider down here and these kind of stairs. I think the stairs are in Paris. I'm not sure right now. Okay, pretty cool. Very, very nice suggestion. Oh, there is the 1 second. I will also take this suggestion here. 1 second. So this guy here, and I really, really want to set. Is this the right guy? No, wait a second. 3 farmers. Is that the right guy? Who's the guy with the 3 farmers? Let's go to YouTube. 1 second. 3 farmers. This one. I really suggest that you watch the video. It's actually not this video that I mean, although art assignment is a really... No, it is this video by, I forgot his name. John something. Damn it, my brain. John Green. Okay, so I need to push this into the chat. Where's the chat? There's the chat. Okay, there we go. This video is amazing. It's about these pictures, especially the 3 farmers going on the way to a dance. And he's analyzing it, who they were, who's the photographer, what the situation is, all the history that came afterwards, and is now packed into this kind of picture. And this is also interesting thing to understand about art. Art is not only what the artist makes, but also what the art becomes through the history that how can I say, evolves around the art and gives it more meaning with time. So art can become more interesting or less interesting over time, depending on how the civilization, everything around evolves. This is also why things change a lot in the appreciation of classic artists. Some fall out of favor and others get really famous. So even old artists, I'm not talking about new artists right now. Okay, Jeremy, do you want to do something? Because I talked for a really long time. I feel like I'm grabbing too much attention here.
No, I'm actually pretty good. I think you adequately covered, some of the artists to watch. Just on a side note, if you're interested in composite art, because again, I come from, how do I put this? I'm a retired gamer, let's say, recovering gamer. Aaron Nance and also Renee Robbins are 2 of the best that I would see from a compositing side. So if you're looking for composite art, these are 2 artists that I would definitely watch. Other than that, Olivio, I think you covered it fairly well.
Okay, good. Let's see, what else have we in the chat to pick some up of that. Franz Lanting. I don't think I have heard that before. Let's put that artist in here. It's always nice to learn some new things. Wow, this is completely different. Okay, cool. Let's look for larger sizes. Oh, wow. That is some atmospheric photography. Wow, that's impressive. And it's even more impressive because these are animals, so it's really hard to actually even get to see something at all, let alone photograph that. So that's pretty impressive. And also, like, the build up is really cool here again. So that's very, very nice from the pictures. This is also a very nice picture. And these are a lot of things that we're going to talk about in our course for composition in photography. These kind of different structures and why they work and how they are prepared, basically. You know, here you have a certain rhythm. Of course, he didn't prepare the rhythm, but I'm sure he took like 200 pictures of the same scene, and this one turned out better. But to know that you can do this and why these kind of things can work can be very, very interesting. You know, and of course, when you look at this picture especially, there is not much to go on other than the animals that you can see, because the foreground, the background, everything is pretty flat. So if you would take these animals out, it would look like you couldn't even know what it is. It looks like a flat surface. But now that they are in there, you want to have kind of an interesting dynamic and kind of an interesting flow inside of the picture. Here's another thing that's pretty interesting. That's also kind of a classic element of visual language. And this is that you have these 3 layers here. You can see, so you have the foreground, the midground, and the background. And if you have these elements, if you manage to put these elements into a picture, they become more alive and have more space and are more interesting for the viewer to look at, because they become alive and interesting scenery that helps a lot with how can I say, making it more interesting, making it like a more like a world that you can dive in, an artistic world that you can dive in. So it is a good idea if you have the chance to push something in front of your camera that's closer to the lens. So for example, if you photograph a building and there's a flower, like, how do you say, flower arrangement in front of you or something else, try to put a little bit of these flowers inside, and then the building way in the back, and maybe a nice sky if it is there, even more way in the back. So you have these 3 layers, and this will make the picture a lot more interesting. Is there an example here maybe? I don't know. There's a lot of great pictures in here. Really nice photographer. Of course, stuff like this is really hard to get this close. You shouldn't even try to get this close for the protection of the animals, but of course in the special case this is okay. Very, very nice. Very cool. Very nice pictures. It must be great to be an animal photographer. It's also probably really hard work to do this kind of thing. And to have, like, you need to have this kind of luck to get these kind of scenes also. That's really interesting. Yeah. But you can see that all of these artists, they try to work with the scenery in a very how can I say, consistent way to bring out the most important part of the picture while pushing the rest into the back, either pushing the rest into the back so it's not as important, or to use the background to support the main subject in the image. So you don't want to leave the rest to the chance, otherwise you have always this kind of situation where the viewer doesn't know where he should or she should look, and this is kind of unsatisfying. So you really want to guide the eye and work in a way that makes it very satisfying and interesting to look at the picture, and that conveys your story in the best possible way, which takes a lot of experience. But the good thing about digital photography and also the editing afterwards is that we have basically unlimited chances to try out these different kind of things. So that's pretty cool. What else do we have? Two of my favorites. René Robin. Let's look at that. And then I go to my last artist. And then we go on to Affinity Photo, because this is also on the program. Wow, okay, these are cool too. Okay, that's nice. Did I have? Yeah, large. Okay, wow. That's nice. This reminds me of the painter Klimt, like really surrounding the subject with this kind of texture or elements that are going on. I think most here know Klimt, but maybe pull up his most famous work. So this one, let's see, large. So you can see okay, that's not a good size. That's a good size. Okay. You can find a lot of inspiration from classic art and these techniques because visual language and all these artistic techniques about contrast and color and composition and the flow and dynamic inside of a picture and stuff, they are not new stuff. They have been developed over hundreds of years, sometimes thousands of years. So looking at old classic art really gives you a good kind of key to start on. And the good thing about classic art is because it's painted, a lot of it is simpler, a lot of it is reduced. So you get more on the focus of what is actually important and where the focus is. For example, a classic thing about paintings is that only the most important art parts in the picture are actually painted complete and well, while the rest is just like shaded in a little bit but not really painted that well, because that took time and that time costs money, so they wouldn't do that. Of course, in a photograph it's different, so you can see in this picture here every detail is really nice. You wouldn't find that in a painting, but you find that in a photograph, and this also is different, and this is also why working with photographs is a little bit different, of course. So yeah, but these are really cool pictures. Very nice build up also. There's some stuff where we have like digital composition put in afterwards. And this is also interesting because you have to work with elements who are not there at the time, but you have to plan it in a way where they are, the model looks in a way where this stuff would actually be there, stuff like that. So it's very interesting to play around with these kind of elements because it trains you more to think about these different kind of things and how every element has to be in the picture so it actually afterward works. By the way, here we have a comparison. This is really tiny. Can you actually see what I'm showing you? Oh, there we go. This is bigger. Wow, okay. That's crazy. That's interesting. Yeah, so you see, that's like, and this is kind of the thing that a lot of people, they have this impression that, oh, art is so glamorous and photography is so glamorous and stuff like that. But actually what you have is kind of this situation on a short time frame, and I don't know, it's all stressful and this kind of stuff, and then afterwards on the computer you make this kind of really cool looking picture, and it looks awesome. And this is, I think, a most important part about art, is to make something that's really hard into something that looks really easy and nice, so people can enjoy it. Yeah, so okay, what else do we have in the chat? Yeah, give you your meaning. Yes. Is it your photo? Udo, did you want to show one of your pictures or some of another photographer? I think I turned off the links in the chat, so we don't have any kind of spam today, but if you can tell me what to search for on Google, I can try that. Yeah? Okay. Jeremy, you want to do something?
Yeah, I can show something real quick, Olivio. I'll just kind of show, we got a question about how much editing goes into some of the photos like you were just showing that I was just showing. So I think, all right, perfect. What I'd like to show really is that it really depends. I personally shoot a photo for maximum adaptability. Like, I'll tell you, I'm the first one to say, I don't go out and try to get it perfect right out of the camera. Some people do. I just don't, right? When I have a flawed photo, I tend to want to take it and make it unrecognizable to what the original image was. So what I've got some stock photos that I've done that I want to show you kind of just within an hour. I tend to lose focus because I'm kind of ADD, so to speak, losing in about an hour. So as an example, if I was to take one from First, right, from Dylan First, if I took this elephant, just as an example, so this is a stock photo, plain as it ever was, and I was to apply the edits that I would do to make it first term in terms of technique, this is what I could do with it in probably 30 to 40 minutes. So it's a night and day difference. And what I really focus on is, how do I take a photo and can I twist it and morph it to give it feeling? Let me show you a second one. This is a basic house, and I liked the background, but I thought I'm really going to try to go for this eerie fog look. So if this was the basic, this is where I ended up with it. So you see that it's a really kind of a night and day difference from what it is to where it changes. And again, this is about 20, 30 minutes max. And I even added in all the smoke atmosphere using the brush pack from 7th Season for the smoke brushes. Now, kind of one more on this. This was, again, a stock photo from Pexels. Great photo. I loved the graininess. I loved the depth of field. And I loved how it went from vague into specific. So afterward, again, because I tend to want to make something post-esque, I changed the photo substantially, added in the bokeh effect there to kind of change it, change the entire game. So all of these photos that I'm showing you, the editing time was less than, say, 1 hour max, even in something like a portrait, where I started off with the stock image like this, and then I turned it into an image that looked like that. That is roughly probably 15 minutes worth of editing in Affinity Photo. So just kind of, Olivio, and you said kind of what did I want to do? I just wanted to show you that all of the photos that at least I show you, I tend to take a photo in its base form, and it is my goal when I get done to make it almost unrecognizable. And even simple photos that were taken out of a cell camera. This was one that was taken with a smartphone camera through a prism, and I did a Brandon Wolfel-esque type of edit to it. So something that is very simple. You see I added the bokeh, the prism was already there, but it was probably 20 minutes worth of editing. So a lot of these photos don't require much editing at all. This one was almost just very basic, and you see that I just did a couple different layers on here, and I actually worked with the light source. So it's actually quite simple. This is the kind of stuff that I do. And Olivio, I don't know for your process, how much editing goes into the photos that necessarily you do? I'll turn it back to you.
There we go. Okay, back. Well, that really depends on the kind of photo. So mostly I think for the tutorials, and this is the kind of thing about YouTube. This is basically the main difference between YouTube and Udemy. On YouTube, the videos have to be short because YouTube is kind of, people expect a video to be like 15 minutes long. And if it's longer, like you can't do it. So these videos have to be rather short, and the editing has to be kind of basic because it has to fit into, not only has the editing to fit into 15 minutes, but you have to explain at the same time what you're doing. So this kind of also slows the process down a little bit. Wait, my cat is coming. Whoop, 1 second. Sorry. Oh, my cat is behind the computer. There we go. But of course, if it's kind of if there's another work that I do, I don't know, professionally for a customer or for my own interest, stuff like that, you can work hours on that. And sometimes even it's good if it's a really important work that you work on it for a bit and then you save it and leave it sit there for several days and then come back, because at some point your eye is too saturated and you can't really decide if it's good or bad what you're doing, so you're really losing this kind of ability to judge your own work. So it's better to, or sometimes ideas seem like really cool and then you come back after 3 days, you have kind of forgotten what was cool about it, and you look at it with a clean eye and then you think like, yeah, it's not that good, maybe I should do it differently. And that's always kind of an important thing to do. So it can take anywhere between maybe 15 minutes to several days to edit a picture. So there's a really big range in that kind of thing. Yeah, really depending on what you do, how complicated it is. And of course, if you prepare a shooting with a photographer and model and people who do the makeup and all that kind of stuff, that takes weeks or months, because you have to have the concept and then you have to like kind of convince people to like the concept, because of course you want to or volunteer, have them volunteer for the photo work most of the time. So, and then to bring them together, they have to find time. You have to find the location. You have to rent the location, or at least kind of have it free for that kind of situation. So that takes a lot of work to get all that kind of stuff together, and then afterwards edit that stuff. So that's really a lot of work that flows into, but it's a very interesting process. So that's pretty good. And of course, you do something that you really want to do, so it's always something that's positive for you. So that's a nice part of that. Okay, there was 1 second. I have to look at the chat. Did we lose the kind of good week? Goldwing. It is the picture with the eagle. Okay, let's have a look at that. 1 second. I have to find my browser again. There it is. Okay, I will pull this over to the other window real quick. Let's see. I only see motorcycles at the moment. Eagle. No, I don't see any photos. Now I see, like, what is this? I don't know, like the logo of a company. There's something with Honda, like, again, motorcycle stuff. So I don't really find that. Maybe you can specify more what kind of thing I should look for. Okay, we could go into Affinity Photo and maybe do some kind of look at like some of my patrons. Oh, before I do that, I totally forgot about that. 1 second. I have, where is it? There we go. Okay, so let's bring over the window again. So, okay, now it's full screen. Yeah, let's put it like this. Good. I have this community, and you can join this for free. I will put the link in the video description, so we can talk about photos. You can show stuff that you have created. I, of course, post my tutorials there and also other inspirational stuff. Today I created another, and these are called flares. So under this tag here, it says flare, and you have to add this to your post and then click apply. So this one is new. It's called community created. You can see there's also feedback requests. So you can get feedback from me about your works, but this is patrons only because it's one of the rewards. But one thing I want to point out is, as a little promotion for the Reddit group, basically, I want to invite you to post one of your works, like photos or stuff you've edited in Affinity Photo. No nudity or any kind of strange stuff, like artistic work stuff that you like. Use with the community creation tag or flare, please. And I will select one of these works and to send you a free copy of the Pro brush pack. Is my store? Oh, there's my store. So here you can see I've created these brushes. By the way, you can also get these brushes for free. The 7 brushes, and the Pro Pack has 27 brushes and also has the source files, which means you can create your own brush variations based from these files. I include 2 videos from my YouTube channel to show you how to create your own brushes too. So use that to post there. Use the community creation tag or flare. And yeah, good. So that was a little small promotion of my channel. Take my name and Goldwing. Okay, so it's your photo. Okay, let's try this again. 1 second. Udo Brandt. Okay, let's go. Goldwing. Is it the one where the eagle is on the cover of the... You mean this picture here? From the kind of airbrush or sticker? I don't know what that is. Probably airbrush. I think it's more the airbrush than the picture, actually. I'm not sure if this is the right picture, but it says your name and Goldwing, so... I don't know. it's I don't know much about airbrush, so I can't really say much about that. But it's not really. This is not really about Affinity Photo, so maybe I'm not sure if this is the right subject. If this is the right picture, so yes. Okay. Well, if that's the right picture, I'm not sure what to say. It looks great, great airbrush work. The photo, of course, could be better. And maybe the position, I mean, probably you couldn't do it differently, but this kind of slit in the middle of the face of the eagle is not that ideal. I'm sure you know that. But other than that, it's a really cool work. Okay, but not that related to Affinity Photo. So let's go to the pictures of the people from the community and have a look at that. So let's go in here. Some people sent me pictures, and we will do a little review process of those. Let's start here with the, no, let's not start with that. Let's start with Jason for now. And he sent me pictures. Let's open this picture here. So he does this kind of portrait photography and a little bit on editing. On top of that, you can see there's some layers next to it. And to give some feedback about this photo, or also the other photos, of course, like the first thing I would point out is that it would be better to, I mean, it's a great photo. That's the first point. The first thing I want to point out is it's a great picture, but you can improve some stuff, of course. So the first thing is I would suggest to get a little bit further away from the background so it's not that present in the picture, and you can blur it better, and maybe work with your zoom lens so you have depth of field where you have a really like blurred out background. And another thing that I would suggest is, if possible, why not go outside or find an interesting location or another interesting background that you can use instead of the studio background, something that complements the model, something that creates an interesting story or an interesting situation. I think that makes it a lot easier, because if you have, the more interesting the subject is, the easier it is to create a nice, interesting photo. And there's a lot of different variations you can do, like Jeremy showed with the neon lights, all this kind of stuff that you can use to create a more dynamic picture. Then about the editing, one thing that stands out here is that here you try to clean up the background, but you have this kind of repetition in here. That's not very good when you can see this kind of repetition. So try, if you do that, to try to pick from different sources of the background, so it creates a new kind of pattern and does not repeat the picture background, so you can actually see that there is some kind of repetition. I would think, in this case, for example, where the hair is hanging here over the shoulder, should you maybe also remove this kind of hair, because it's such a little bit and it's just sticking out, that there is the question, is this really adding to the picture or is it disturbing in that case? And this hair on top would be enough. And another thing that I would suggest is from the colors to maybe make the skin colors more warm, more rosy, to really support this kind of her young age and beauty and her like delicate person, to bring that out and work with these elements a little bit more. We should compare that. 1 second, let's bring over here. And this is what I do myself, and I think most other artists do too, is you go online and you, you compare you compare your work with the works of others. So let's go in here, portrait. And the good thing about that is, first of all, you can see what other people are doing, but more importantly, you can find visual solutions, like I said before when we talked about the other pictures, and you can find things that not many people do. You will see there's a lot of repetition in these pictures on how people are photographed, and then some things stand out. We can say, hey, that's a good idea. Or maybe you think like, I have an idea, but I've never seen it online. So you find it makes it much easier to understand what is new, and at the same time, it trains your eye on things, how they work, how they are prepared, to give you much more of a visual, how can I say, oh God, what's the right word? A visual, let's say a visual collection of different kind of things you can do. And you can see here is a lot of different ways that people are doing it. So you have these kind of colorful backgrounds. And of course, you could try to introduce these colorful backgrounds afterwards in your picture by just cutting the person out. Maybe try to get a green screen, so it makes it easier for you to cut the person out from the background and then replacing it with something that is cooler or more interesting. You can even build up a visual library of different pictures you find online of different locations. You can take your camera with you, go on different locations, take the background pictures, and afterwards take the pictures of the person to match it with the person, if you have a nice green screen or you cut out the person in a nice way. And you can see here there's a lot of different techniques in here. Here's more like one with muted colors, but it also looks a little bit kind of ghostly in its kind of situation. But you can see that often the background of the pictures is blurred, even if there is nice detail behind there. So to give more attention to the character in front, to the portrait you actually want to take. So yeah, that's kind of a good technique to have this kind of, at least the possibility to do that. So stand a little bit more further away from the background. And another thing that helps you with is that you don't get any kind of shadow on the background if you stand like, let's say 2 meters away from the background, and then do the light. And if you have the possibility with your studio lights, and you can get really cheap studio lights on Amazon or another page, light the background and the person with different lights and in separate settings, because they require different kind of moods and kind of light to get that to get the scene really interesting. So yeah, let's go to another picture. What else have we here? So I will just take this one picture. We can look at this picture real quick. It's another one. There's similar points here. Like, I think the colors are a bit muted. It's a bit ghostly, maybe from the like. I think if it would more like radiate and be more like this kind of beauty of the youth, rosy colors and stuff of that, maybe that would bring it more alive. But again, also I have to say this really depends on what you actually want as an artist. And this is really also the problem or like the difficult part about feedback is I don't know what you actually want to express. So always take the suggestions I give you with a grain of salt to mix them up with what you actually wanted to create in the end. Okay. Do you want to do one, Jeremy? So we kind of switch back and forth between our editing things?
Right now, Olivio, the way that it's set up, I can't see your live stream without interrupting your flow there, so that wouldn't work real well for us.
Ah, okay, okay. So I should keep going, or?
Yep. I'm flying blind over here, so nope. Keep on trucking there.
You don't have the live stream open, or what?
No, when I do have the live stream open, it shows my browser window is open, and then it causes angst, so I had to shut it down.
I see. Okay. So let's go on to other stuff. Wait, I had a certain kind of way to do these things. Okay, let's go to the pictures of Greg now. So he sent a lot of stuff that is based on the tutorials that we do. Oh wait, I should look on the. Sorry, I'm not an experienced streamer. I should look on the chat once in a while. I think the portrait done from the. Huh? What does it say? Come on. I think the portrait done from the critique is. Could we review the use of a basic simple green screen? Yeah, we could do that. I want to do more stuff where I use my camera to show off things. By the way, I want to do an episode about a graphic tablet, why that is good, different reasons why to have that and how that works, stuff like that. But also, like, I did these 2 videos about the photo shootings, one about my photo shooting, one about a fashion photo shooting, including an interview with the fashion photographer. So I want to do more of these stuff of behind the scenes where you can actually see the process of how things are going on. They haven't gotten that many views on my channel, so I was a little bit concerned if my community actually wants that. But on the other hand, I think a lot of my traffic comes from people who just search on YouTube or Google for Affinity Photo tutorials. So there is a difference between getting views and the interest of the community. So I still want to do these things, also because they're interesting for me. What else do we have in the chat? Skin can be interesting with such a low-key image. We can do a bathing. Skip the knee. Leading curve lines. I'm not sure what that means. Skip the knee in this image and pose the body with some leading curve lines. Okay. Wait, let's look at the picture again. Okay, I see. Yeah. This, by the way, again, you can learn so much from classic paintings. In this case, also from classic sculptures, looking at them, the poses of the body, of the hands, of the the face, the mimic, all these kind of stuff. You can learn a lot from them, and they have a lot of dynamic in them. They have a lot of they're not just, when you look normally at a classic painting, you think like, oh yeah, there's this hero, he's a half god, he's falling off his horse, and then there is a lady running away in the background, but every kind of little detail about that, how the hair flies in the wind and the position of the fingers and how the muscles even are organized on the body, because a lot of them are not actually muscles, they're just there to make the picture look more interesting and tell a certain story. Everything of this is planned in very high detail over a lot of weeks, so you can take a lot of that out from there and try to get it into your own work, or take it as inspiration, or even just react to that in a modern way. So classic art is a really great guide for these kind of things. Okay, let's go to this picture here now. No, I wanted to show some, sorry, I'm getting confused. Greg. So we had here some tutorials. Let's make this a little bit bigger. I only want to show the one where I will work on a little bit. So these are based on the tutorials that I do on my channel. So we had different kind of things where we have this kind of double exposure effect here. We have the kind of hair blending into hair, the kind of where you can use a shape as a mask and put a picture inside of it, so you can create interesting kind of compositions basically. And the one I want to look at this time is this one here. I'm missing some fonts, but I don't think that's important because this font is in here. I made sure of that. Classic portrait to Google. Yeah, absolutely. Great. Google classic photographers and learn from them and see what they do. So that's really great. Absolutely. Okay, so we have this picture here and it's already pretty good, but we can improve on that a little bit. So one thing I would point out here is that the text is hitting the lower part of the image, and it's never good to have something that is too close to the border in a way where it's not completely sticking out over the border. So if you would have, for example, if you would have it like this, where it's like sticking out but in a way where it's kind of designed, that makes more sense. But if it's like this, where it's cut off just a little bit, that's never good. So you want to have some more space with that, either push it more into the picture or maybe change the ratio of the picture, stuff like that. Then another thing that we have in here, and I think that it is already a very nice work, but we want to improve a little bit here. You have these kind of, I always forget what the English word is. Thunder? But I think thunder is the sound. What's the flash, the light? What's that called? Jeremy?
Lightning.
Lightning, thank you, lightning. Okay, cool. So we have this lightning here, but it's kind of hard. You see, it could also be kind of tree roots or something like that. So maybe we want to bring that out a little bit more and maybe also fit together with the background. So let's do this a little bit here. So let's see, what do we have here from the layers? I have to push my window a little bit over. There we go. So I think that's the lightning. Okay. These are individual layers. That's good. Let's take one. Copy. File. New from clipboard. Okay, that one looks good. So I will just duplicate one. I think for presentation that's enough. I will push this up here. Let's hide the others. Then I will go in here and inside, not resize the document, but resize the canvas. So that's just the background while all the elements stay the same. Let's click on the little like lock here because I only want to change the height of that by a little bit. Let's enter here 5,000. There we go, resize. So you can see now the picture already is a little bit higher. It has kind of the size of a classic poster. You can see now also that the text looks a lot better when it has its own space. It has a little bit of space to breathe. And by the way, this is an element that I find kind of important about artwork or design or kind of photography. Don't crowd your pictures too much. Don't cram too much into one picture. Have a little space to breathe, or if there is a lot going on, try to do it in a way where it makes sense for the composition and for the balance of the picture. Don't overcrowd the picture with too much stuff, maybe. Okay, so let's go on here. Why is there still... Oh, this is the one that I copied out. Okay, great. So we have this here now, the flash. Let's go in here to layer effects, and for example we could use glow. Let's use some glow in here, make the glow blue. So we have maybe try to go close to the blue on the background, not completely because this is not a lightning blue, but that looks good. Okay, so we could do that. Then we go to inner glow, pump this up so we have a really nice, like this is kind of this classic, what was this, 90s album cover, movie cover kind of thing. Bring this in here, and like I said, I'm just using one of these. Oh, by the way, we have here a little bit, you can see here's a little bit of darkness inside there. That's not good. Let's turn this around to center and then move it to the other side. Boop, and there we go. Okay, that's good. So now everything is light or lit. There we go. We copy this, control and drag to make a duplicate, arrange and flip horizontal. So we bring this down here, make this a little bit smaller maybe. So it looks a little bit like a different kind of lightning, sorry. Okay, there we go. So now we select the text. We could do some outer glow here too if you want to. Let's take some of the light of this tiger here in the background. Make this a little bit to shine. There we go. Nice. Okay, cool. And what we could now also do is put some emphasis on the two different words. So we could, for example, go in here and make the calm big and then the keep a little bit smaller. And you could either use the same font or you could use a different, you could use a different font to make this even more obvious, point it even out even more. Let's see. I'm not sure. I don't have too much because this is a new computer. I haven't installed too much fonts here, and most of them are probably crap for this kind of situation. And searching fonts who mix well and look good in a design, that can take hours. That's like really a pain in the what do we have here? No, that's not good. That's not good. Do we have something maybe that's a bit funky? Oh, that's funny. It looks like, well, what was the time? 90s maybe? A cheesy 90s movie? That looks kind of cool, right? You can put it on a little angle so it gets kind of emotion in there. That's kind of nice. You can see that these two fonts now interact with each other because it's not the same font. It's maybe a problem that both of them are kind of these fancy fonts, but at the same time, why not? It could work. And it's kind of, it has more of a dynamic. Maybe I'm not saying this is a great font choice, but given the fonts that I have on my systems, maybe it's not too bad. Or we could go back to the other font. But you can see here, with moving the things a little bit around, give them a little bit of space and have emphasis on the different kind of elements that we have here. And by the way, again, we have this kind of triangle where we have the guy in the upper part, and then we have these two lightnings coming in, pointing onto the title of our movie or poster or whatever, is kind of guiding all of this kind of situation. And at the same time, these lightnings, they are framing his face. So it's not the best work in the universe, but given what we have, I think it's kind of a nice improvement. And you can see some different elements on how to change them around and not to make the picture too overcrowded. Should I save that, by the way? Maybe I should save that. Let's call this live stream. Okay. There we go. Okay. Good. Let's go on to another picture from my community. Let's see what else we have. By the way, this one is insane. This one is really great. So I have to say, I don't even know how to do that, you know? So if you know where the tutorials to find for this one, I want to learn from that. And by the way, this is a really important part. Being an artist or being a professional is not about that you know everything that is to know. It is about that you know where to find it and that it is actually possible. That is the important part about that. And of course that you have experience and develop the skill over the time. But because there is so much things to know today, it's really important that you know where you can find them and that they are actually possible, rather than being an expert in everything. So don't worry about things you don't know. The most important part is you know that they can be done in some way. Okay, so this is really cool and it looks like a sketch. So really, really nice technique. Okay, let's go on to another picture. What else do we have here? So we had Jason. Do we have Kevin? These are interesting pictures. So these are mostly photographs. I think all of them are photographs. Right. Okay. So here's a thing, and this is true, I think, for most of these pictures. Let's open some of them and also look at different kind of situations here. So let's also open this one. Okay, cool. So what you can see here with the pictures is they're not necessarily bad pictures, but you can see here that how important it is to have like a good knowledge of the visual language and how to build up pictures. Because in this picture here, for example, you can see that I would say there's two kinds of photography. One is the kind that we have as documentation that we take throughout our holidays, vacation, all this kind of stuff, where we just point the camera at a certain subject and we just want to document that it was there so we can remind ourselves later. And this is completely fine. I'm not saying it's any kind of wrong or anything. This is really important. But there's the other kind of photography where you want to tell a certain story or want to point out something or have a certain kind of structure in your picture. And this means that you want to guide the eye of the viewer and also want to guide the mind of the viewer. And the interesting part now, the interesting difference between these two kinds of photography is, for example, if you take a picture of your family at Christmas time and there is some inside jokes going on or whatever in the picture, if you know that, if your family knows that, that's great. Everybody's understanding what is going on. But if you would show that picture to someone else, they would not know what is going on. They would even not know who these people are on the picture, you know? Is it your son or your friend or your nephew or your student? Who is that? So they don't understand the relation. And this is why, if you have photography that you want to show to others who don't have the background, you need this kind of visual language, and you need to guide the eye and the understanding and the mind of the viewer. So that's the important part. And like I said, always a great source is to look online. Let's go back to our browser. Where do we have the browser? There's the browser. So let's go in here and type, for example, palm tree. There we go. Okay, so we can look at different pictures, and we can see from these kind of, it's always switching, sorry. Okay, we can see from these kind of pictures like classic, how can I say, classic techniques that are applied to this kind of photography. So first of all, you can see here's an interesting example where you try to have a dynamic in the perspective, and something is happening in the picture where you have a nice composition. So it works with more than just the trees and brings it in a little bit of kind of a visual symphony, basically. And again, you can see it in this example here, that you have a lot of free space and then just a little bit of the subject. I'm not saying that these are super good pictures, but I'm saying that these are techniques that you can apply to make pictures more interesting and to guide the eye of the viewer. So in this case, of course, there's nothing else than this kind of palm leaf and the sky, so you don't have much choice where to look, so you can really point out this kind of palm leaf. Like I said, I'm not saying this is a really great picture. Where's another? Of course, this is nice where you combine the element with the background. If you have an interesting background, or you have something that you, how can I say, put, for example, in this case, in contrast to it. And this is also an interesting element here. You can see that you have the palm tree, and that's kind of nature. In this case, more a mix of nature and culture, because it's not a wild palm tree. It's just a palm tree that's planted by us. But in the background, we have architecture that has a very repetitive structure, has this kind of industrial feel to it. So this is a nice comparison between the nature on one side and the industrial kind of, how do you say, human structures on the other side, that brings a contrast in the picture, at the same time makes it visually very interesting to look at. So there's a lot of these kind of interesting techniques. This one, of course, is very kind of well-known, famous, is like having this kind of extreme perspective, maybe going even closer to the stem of the tree and showing the height and the dynamic, and this kind of, you giving a lot of space in here and a lot of structure. What I like about this picture, by the way, is that on the other side, on the top side here, you have some more palm leaves that are closer to the camera, and they bring kind of a nice contrast and also a closing to this kind of situation, which would be different than when you just had the palm trees. So this brings a little bit more dynamic to that. So these are kind of, I'm not saying you have to take the pictures like that, but you can take them as a guide to create something that can be interesting. You can see here's another interesting example from a down to upward perspective, working with the sky and with these different elements and balancing it out over the different, how can I say, the space, the picture space that you have. So that's kind of a nice way to do it. So trying to learn these kind of things and how to apply that even in everyday situations can help you take pictures that are visually easier to consume and to understand, and giving kind of a guideline where to look at. Of course, then we have these kind of situations where what else can you do? I mean, it's such a short kind of situation. You just have to take a picture before it's gone. So, of course, we have these kind of situations. But again, if we go back to Henri Brisson, what we have seen before, the street photographer, with a lot of training, you can get in there and find some better perspective, some kind of better, how to say, a better picture. Basically, sorry, I'm kind of lacking the words right now. Yeah. Oh, of course, you can also crop them afterwards, and you have some. And by the way, this is an important part here. In Affinity Photo, you have a little bit of these tools. For example, here, overlay. It's the thirds grid, and actually, this is here in this kind of thirds position. So kind of good start, but you can switch this. You can also take it over to the golden spiral, and you can also go to diagonals. So you have different tools in here that can help you figure stuff out. And of course, if you move this around, you can see that this is moving with your tool, so you can find out a nice dynamic in your picture with these built-in tools. Yeah, so that's a really nice thing to know here. Let's go to the last one. This one here, and again, this is more like being on a journey and taking a picture of something, more documentation style, I would say. It has very nice starting points, like you have, it's a bit framed with these trees on the side, so the eye is guided towards this building, and the layout is kind of nice. But at the same time, there is so much going on in the picture that it's losing this dynamic a little bit. So in this case, I would suggest maybe to include more of the sky. In this case, the sky is not the greatest sky. It's kind of, I don't know, it looks like it starts to rain in some minutes. Or you could find maybe another perspective that is more dynamic. Let's go back to... what could we search here for? Let's enter house. Probably not the best. No. I don't know what to search for here. Palace, maybe palace. So we have some similar... Oh, country house. Country house. Country house. Is there something in here? See if we can find some interesting... There's a lot of stuff that's not that great in here too. I mean, a lot of these pictures you can see, like with this picture or the other picture that was up here is... Where was it? Let's take this picture here. Where was it? There it is. That you have, again, you have this kind of dynamic created by having a little bit in the foreground, and then you have the midground and then the background as the sky. And you have this kind of dynamic angle where this goes diagonally into the picture from the element from the side to this house that is in the middle, basically, of the picture. So you can create more of a dynamic, and at the same time you have more of this kind of screen here. By the way, let's copy this picture here real quick. Put it in here, new from clipboard. So if you take this picture and then we would cut it like this, you would see that this is very crowded, and suddenly you can see that it's kind of hard to focus on something, because everything seems to be a little bit overflowing with content and the eye is not guided anymore that great. And with just adding a little bit of this space, first of all, your eyes get more space to breathe and to kind of relax your attention a little bit. And at the same time, you know that... can I have... Where's my brush here? This is too big. 1 second. What's the color? Let's set the color to... No. Let's set the color to red real quick. So you can see in this area over here, there's not much to see over here, and there is not much to see over here. So your eye is freed up to look at the things that are going on here in the middle, and this element is flowing basically over here, so you can follow this kind of line of your eyes in here. So this is nicely guiding your attention with these kind of elements into the atmosphere, and the rest is just freeing up your attention. So that's very nice. Let's put this away again, compared to, like I said, when you don't have this kind of sky and everything is a little bit cramped in here. It's kind of hard because there's a lot of things going on, and even now you can see that the grass in the foreground suddenly becomes a lot more interesting, becomes a lot more structure and texture in the picture that grabs your attention compared to before, because now not only takes it a lot more part of the picture, it also has more similarity to the rest of the picture. And this is, by the way, also an interesting point to look at, because here we have a nice balance between the blue of the sky and the brown of the other elements down here. But when we go back to this, almost everything is brown and everything is kind of in the same situation of light. So the eye is not really guided, and it's kind of, there's not really a story here in this kind of situation. You're like, should I look at this wood structure, or should I look at the house, or is it maybe the tree in the background, or is it the sunset? There's a lot of possibilities to look at here, while here it's a lot clearer. You can see this makes a lot of a difference to have these kind of simple things changing. Wow, okay, let's let's go to the next work. Is anyone still there, or is everyone asleep from all my theory and crap that I'm talking here? I don't know. Are you still interested? I hope so. Where's the chat? Chat, hello, wake up. Okay, good. Yeah, let's see. I think we're almost done with my part of the examples. So what else do we have here? Oh, this is really interesting. So PT, he's also one of my patrons, and there's a lot of cool stuff in here. Let's open several of these pictures. And by the way, this is something I really want to suggest to you to try this kind of thing. By the way, he's working with Affinity Photo, but he's using a special plugin. I can't remember what the name is right now. I don't know. I can't remember. He told me several times, but I forgot about that. Oh, Greg, okay. Thank you for being here. I hope it was really interesting for you. Did we look at your pictures? I think we did. You did get the review, right? Yes. Yes, we did that. Okay, perfect. Good. So the thing that I want to point out here, and this I find is really cool, is that he takes pictures but then pushes them into this kind of more graphic design, looking like painting, visual arts element that looks really nice, but it goes a lot away from what was there in the picture and goes into an abstract artistic space, which is really interesting, because often we kind of think about photography only as this kind of documenting or representing or showing some stuff that's there in the real world, and we kind of forget that photography also has the potential to be the starting point for a really abstract and artistic and interesting space. You can see here, I want to show this one later, that he's doing some really crazy stuff. Let's zoom in here a little bit for this one. You can see this is a special effect from this other software, which I can't remember what it's called. If someone of you knows that, is it Tessled 3D or something like that? I don't remember the exact name. It does this kind of painting effect that Affinity Photo is really not good at. But this kind of software is, and you can see you can have really great structures in here that look kind of painted, but at the same time not painted. So it's kind of virtual, digital kind of painting world that makes it really interesting. So you can really take something from the real world and create something completely different with this. And this, by the way, and this is really crazy, this is based on one of my tutorials with this mirror filter up here. So where is it? Mirror here, this mirror filter. And he took one of his pictures where he has this kind of painted effect in here and then applied this mirror effect. And this is so abstract and so different. It looks like a design pattern. And personally, I would say this is going into a direction where you could actually sell that kind of stuff. This could be on a mug or a shirt, or you could have this as like a curtain on your windows, because this is like a very nice pattern with very nice colors. And it's also interesting that from the real colors of the space around you, when you abstract it into these kind of special shapes, you can create something that's really nice. And because it's natural colors, it also looks very nice from the mixture and blend of colors. So that is really, really cool. I really like these kind of works and the kind of artistic direction that they take. Okay, so now get back to this one, which is also one of my tutorials. This one is about putting the pictures inside of the letters. And it's very nicely done. I also like the combination of the pictures with the background, color-wise, very nice balance in there. But what you can see here, what's kind of standing out, is that you have these letters here in the start and the 2 letters back here. They work pretty well, and then you have the one in the middle, and you can see these 2 S's here, they don't work that well. And the reason for that is that the picture of the dog in the background is conflicting with the shape of the letters. And the reason for that is that you have a lot of lines that are breaking with the lines of the letter, or they come too close to the border. For example, you can see the ear is completely at the border of the S. And then you have these lines that are repeating that stuff up here. And there's a lot of lines that break the shape, the flow of the S, and it makes it really hard. And it pushes us into a direction that's almost kind of a camouflage effect. So this is why it's important to look out for structures that come too close to a border or break with the shape that you want to point out. So you want to have something that is rather complementing the shape, working well with it. So I find especially the E here is working very well with this kind of flow that is going through the font or through the letter, but nothing is obstructing from this shape as an E, and even the position of the I is in a nice position where it's not really obstructing from anything. So this could be improved with the 2 S's in the middle to make the picture maybe larger, or take 2 other pictures so they don't conflict too much. What does the chat say? The abstract would be great on tiles. Yeah, bathroom tiles. There's so much applications for these kind of abstract things. So that's really nice. Yeah, I really like that. You can do a lot of stuff with these kind of things. Good. Do we have something else? No, I think that was that. Oh, there's one more. The last one for today. Was it this one? Steven. Right, there we go. That's an interesting picture, very different from what we have seen so far. So this is kind of combination of a photo of a car, but then with a 2D flat or kind of flat background, more like a graphic design. It looks a little bit like a brochure or like a flyer that you would hand out to present something. It's nice in the way that it really cuts out the car and the complete focus is on the car. So it's very interesting. I think maybe the colors could be a bit different, the color choices. And especially you have here, of course, this effect where you go from yellow to blue. And this means that the gradient in the middle is starting to get green. So maybe not the kind of effect you want to have, that this is actually then creating a third color, basically. So you can have other combinations of color where this is not happening in that kind of way. And with the circle around, so Jeremy, we looked at the pictures before we started the stream. He said maybe the flares could reflect in the car, which is an interesting point to have. So this gets a little bit more real. And I would also point out that maybe these sparks down here, maybe put them here on the right side behind the car, so they have more of a dynamic and push the car. So you have this kind of like a rocket end, not like a rocket end, shouldn't look like a rocket, but you know that you have this kind of energy where you would expect it at the end of the car. That could make it more dynamic maybe, because down here it's a little bit in the center, so it evens everything out, and at the same time you don't really know why it's down there, and maybe at the end it would be more it would make more sense. So you can play with that, think about that. And another thing that's interesting here is the story that you have in pictures, like again this visual language. And a classic thing with pictures is that the left side is the home and the right side is the away of a picture. And the reason for that is, of course, that we see things from left to right. We read from left to right. Also, you will see in movies that a lot of stuff happens from left to right. So the bad guy comes from the right while the good guy is on the left side. So you have this kind of thing. And you can see here immediately when I switch the picture over, it's like, look at the car right now and try to feel what kind of emotion this car gives you. Is this car driving from outside towards you, or is it driving from towards you away to somewhere else. You know, think about it, and then I will turn the picture around. You will see how much this changes when we flip the picture to the other side. Okay, so let's flip it, and there you go. And you can see the dynamic of the picture is very, very different right now, right? It feels completely different. It looks like the picture is somehow, the car is in a different kind of situation. It feels a little bit more dynamic, maybe even. And it goes from left to right now. So it has more like this kind of forward flow. It's driving away from something, it's going somewhere. And when you flip it back again, you have this kind of feeling the car is coming. It's coming towards you, right? It's coming in your direction, it's coming home. It feels like, okay, this is kind of maybe the end of the journey. They come back from a happy weekend, stuff like that. And here you have more this kind of, yeah, they are going like on an adventure, dynamic. Maybe they drive to the beach. They are getting into the car and then they drive away because they drive from left to right. And this is a classic thing that you will find in a lot of movies. And it's also a very basic thing, especially in film, but also in photography, of course. Yeah. So this is something maybe to think about in which direction should the car point. Yeah. Okay. Good. Jeremy, you have prepared some things you want to show in Affinity Photo, right? Should we go to that?
No, not today. I don't have anything. We figured we'd take up all the time doing the others. So no, there's nothing in Affinity Photo for me today.
Ah, okay, I see. Okay. Let me have a look at the chat and at the stream. 1 second. We have streamed for almost 2 hours. Should we let's wait. We have this timetable, so let's see if there's something on that. Do you have the timetable still open? Because I don't know where I have mine. Is there something in there still that we haven't covered yet? Oh, there it is. Sorry, I have it. Photo review, showing our content. No, I think we covered everything that we prepared for today. Like I said, check out the group on Reddit. I want to share this again real quick. And again, I do this giveaway for the Pro Pack for free. Where's the link? I'm sorry, I'm a bit lost here right now. There we go. So here is the community on Reddit. Please join that. Please be active on there. That's also important. Don't just join. Please post stuff, ask stuff, share stuff, YouTube videos, stuff that's inspirational, all that kind of cool stuff, so we can learn from each other. And I want to also share. Okay, I have to pull this up here real quick. I have too much windows open. I'm sorry. There we go. I want to share my Patreon. If you want to become one of my supporters, please do. And I also want to share Jeremy's page. He has a lot of cool stuff on there. Also the free course, 1 hour portrait editing course. You can see here that's for free. You can take that. So you get more of a taste of what he's doing. It's a really great lecture. So yeah, I think that was it. Or I think that was a good stream. I hope you enjoyed what we did together. I will give the word to Jeremy so you can also say some things. 1 second before you do, I have to mute my audio. Okay, there you go. Jeremy, it's yours.
All right. I really don't have much else to say, so it's been a good time going through and editing some of these things. If you got any questions, hit us up. And we're also active on Facebook from 7 Season Studios. The Affinity Designer, the Complete Guide to Affinity Designer, Affinity Photo, the Complete Guide to Affinity Photo. You can find us there. So check it out. If you got questions on Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, or there's stuff you want to see in our weeklies, hit us up. That's it, Olivio. Bye.
Is it visible again? Hey guys, I'm sorry, I forgot to post the stream. Sorry. Is my voice back again? I'm back again on the stream or not? I don't know. Oh God, I'm such a doofus. I turned on the screen again, sorry. Where is the link to the live stream? There it is. Is it back? I think I'm back. Hey guys, I wanted to say thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for being a part of the stream. Sorry, I totally forgot to turn on my sound in the last minutes. I hope it was turned on at the rest where I was explaining all of that stuff. I hope I didn't it just with no sound. Yeah, check out the links that I was sharing. And yeah, I will do a stream sometime soon. And yeah, okay. Yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. Thank you very much for being part of the stream, joining our chat, and see you in the next stream. Okay, now I'm off for real. Good. Bye.